So, over the past few days, I've been experimenting with BitLocker, Secure Boot, Linux, and various combinations of the three. And I've come across a pretty annoying bug. It's not the first time I've come across it. I think when I was last playing with this kind of thing in May, I came across it as well. But I'm just going to demonstrate it. So what I've got here is my laptop. It's a ThinkPad W530 UEFI based system. That's the important thing for this. So I'm just going to power it on, and we're going to go into the boot menu. There we go, entering boot menu. Takes a second to load. So that looks pretty normal. We've got Windows Boot Manager, that loads boot MGR off the OS partition. OpenSUSE chain loads grub. We've got the CD-ROM drive, a SSD used just for data storage, that's got no bootable volumes on it, and the operating system SSD. And we've also got PXE boot if we needed it. So I could boot any of those now and we'd be fine. We'd go to Linux, we'd go to Windows. Windows volumes are encrypted with BitLocker, and the laptop does have secure boot enabled. So if I reboot and I go into the setup, anybody familiar with BIOS systems, this should be familiar. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to load setup defaults. Now notice what it says on the right hand side. Load default values for all setup items. The following will not be discarded and must be reset within the ThinkPad setup security, date and time. That doesn't say it's going to overwrite anything. Okay, that's fine. It's just saying, hey, do you want to load the defaults? Yes. Loaded. So, I know one thing that gets disabled here is... actually, we can see secure boot is off. So, we know that's reset, that's back to defaults. I'm going to exit discarding changes. Configurations has not been saved. Okay, that's fair enough. Let it reboot. And I'm going to go into the bootloader again. Notice that it's taking a long time. It's restarting twice, almost as if I've just saved the configuration. And, whoa, I don't know what's going on here. There goes my boot order. I've got nothing. I can boot straight to the drives, but I can't boot individual partitions, which means I can't get to group to boot Linux. Maybe Windows will still boot. Nope. That's reset BitLocker as well. So, not only have we lost the boot records, it's also nuked for TPM. It's now an untwisted platform. What do you do from here? I hope you've got your BitLocker keys, otherwise you're well and truly in it. Now, I think it's going to be quite important to try and understand why this is happening. I should mention this isn't the only laptop I've seen this happen on. It's not even the only UEFI system that I've seen it happen on. I've seen it on laptops, desktops, even my main workstation has the same fault. So, to go with that, I've also seen it working perfectly fine. When you load defaults and then discard, it doesn't save them, it reboots, the world spins on. But any way that I look at this, loading setup defaults, I'm not sure it should be touching the boot order at all, because that's not really part of setup. I know with EFI it now provides its own bootloader, but why would you want to reset that? There's tools available that you can boot into. You can even do it from the operating system. There's no valid reason for that to be reset at this point. But whatever, I digress. We should probably not do that again. I'm not going to try it again. I'm going to boot straight to BitLocker again, or attempt to. and see if we can explain that. So we know that the defaults have actually been loaded. There's no way around it. Even though we discarded, that has loaded setup defaults. Now, part of BitLocker is set up to detect changes to the hardware, or more specifically to the firmware. Remember, this is UEFI, we're not talking about BIOS systems here. BitLocker would not be able to do this on a BIOS system. So what it's doing, it's saying, hey, your system's changed, the TPM has probably been nuked, how can we trust this machine anymore? Let's just lock the volume and ask for the recovery key. Which is fair enough, that's great for your data. If this was a malicious attack, then your data's fine. It's locked, you don't have to worry about it. But this wasn't a malicious attack. This was perhaps a bug in the firmware, and now we need the recovery key to unlock the volume. Where can you get that? Well, it's stored in two places. You get a copy of it once when you set BitLocker up. It's going to tell you, hey, this is your recovery key, keep it safe, you might need it. If you didn't save it, and you're not part of a domain, game over. You're done at this point. Don't even attempt to recover the data. It's encrypted, 128-bit encryption by default. You are not going to break it. And there's no known hack or backdoor method to decrypt. End game. You're done. Pack it away. Call it a loss. If you're on a domain, which I am, luckily, your keys are actually sent to the domain controller when you join the domain. Regardless of whether you've set BitLocker up before or after joining the domain, your keys are then sent to the domain controller and stored as part of a computer object for your machine. So, when you go into Active Directory, you go into Users and Computers, right-click the machine, Properties. Now, I can't remember if this is enabled by default, or if you need to do a bit of PowerShell magic to enable it. But there should be a BitLocker Keys tab. Then you can get your key, type it in, yeah, your data's safe. Now, interestingly, next time that you reboot the machine, you enter a recovery key, you log into Windows, the TPM will automatically unlock, BitLocker will trust the platform again, and you can reboot, no problem. You don't have to do anything manually after that. Which, I don't know, that seems a little dodgy to me. I wouldn't trust that. I would expect that after TPM's getting locked and needing BitLocker recovery keys, you should at least have to manually enable BitLocker again. Or at least take it out of a pending state. Who knows? I don't know. It's one of those things. Track for the young players, I think. If you come across this in the field, somebody's accidentally done a firmware update or changed some settings in the BIOS, and then they reboot the system, find the TPM's locked. It's the tech support guys that are going to be getting the phone call to fix it. The user isn't going to be able to do it. So, hey, just one of those things.